Installing decorative wall paneling is one of the easiest ways to change the look of your home's interior. And best of all, it can be an inexpensive do-it-yourself project. We'll show you how. Paneling is great for bathrooms, family rooms, home offices, and it's a great way to change the look of a dining room, which is where we're working today. The paneling we're installing is beaded plank. It works with special baseboard and chair rail molding that have a pre-cut channel for attachment. Now, if you're installing paneling and molding without these channels, the steps we'll show you still apply. You just want to install your baseboard molding after the paneling. And you can find printable instructions and a complete tool list for this project at Lowe's.com/videos. Now, typically, paneling is sold in 8-foot heights, primarily for full wall applications. But 32-inch wainscoting is also available. Now, we'll be using the 8-foot paneling and cutting it for our application since we're going a bit higher than 32 inches in this dining room. Oh, and check out the way it looks at 5 feet in this laundry room. Start by measuring the height you're considering and then make level marks along the wall at this height. Now measure the length of each wall to figure the linear footage. Divide the total linear footage by the width of the panels and round up. This is the number of planks you'll need. Now, if you're installing at 4 feet or less, you can get 2 pieces from each 8-foot plank. In addition to the paneling, purchase the same linear footage of chair rail trim and base molding. Now, the product we're using is MDF, or wood composite. And we need to let it acclimate to the room temperature and humidity. So we set it in the room for a minimum of 48 hours prior to installation. And we'll make sure that it's placed flat and has spacers, like shims, in between layers of panels. Now, if you're going to paint your paneling, it's best to do it before it's installed. This paneling comes already primed, and we'll use a good semi-gloss paint to finish it. Once the paint is dry, it's time to install. Here's what you'll need: a stud finder, a circuit tester, a combination square, a circular or miter saw, a jigsaw, a pry bar, screwdriver, drill with bits, chalk or pencil, construction adhesive, a caulking gun, paintable caulk, paneling nails, a nail set, a nail gun or hammer, and a drop cloth. You'll also want safety gear like a dust mask, safety glasses, and hearing protection. Prepare the area by moving all furniture or appliances away from the wall or out of the room. And remove all outlet covers. Remove any existing baseboard using a pry bar. Now, if you plan on reusing your baseboard, do this carefully. Also mark the stud locations on the wall. Extend the stud location line with a level and mark at the baseboard. Okay, now we're going to install our baseboard. Now, if you notice, our baseboard is notched and the paneling fits in behind it. Measure the span of baseboard needed. Cut it with its back flat against the miter saw. Now, for inside corners, cut it at a 45-degree angle so the edge of the cut is visible from the front. For outside corners, cut through the face at a 45-degree angle so the edge of the cut is hidden from the front. Now, if you're joining 2 pieces end to end, cut them at opposing 45-degree angles and lap them to create a nice clean seam. We'll start in one corner and work our way around the room. Apply adhesive to the back side of the baseboard and set it in place. Check that it's level. Drill pilot holes where you've marked your stud lines, nail it, and set it. All right, let's move on to the paneling. Now, to cut your panels to height, start with your total height measurement. Then subtract the width of the shoe of the baseboard and the chair rail. Now, if you're installing baseboard after the paneling, subtract the width of the chair rail and 1/8 of an inch at the floor for expansion. Transfer this measurement to your panels and cut with a saw. Cut them all the same length. Now, start with your first piece in a corner. Now, corners aren't always straight, so hold your first piece in place, called dry fitting, and check it on the outside edge with a level to see if you need to cut the inside edge to fit. Now, if necessary, trim the inside edge of the panel. To install the first panel, apply a bead of adhesive on the back and place it against the wall, tongue to the right, inside the baseboard channel. Check the edge to make sure it's plumb and adjust as needed. Now, in the corners, leave an 1/8 of an inch gap for expansion. You'll need to nail the first plank. Now, if you're using hammer and nails, drill pilot holes and secure with finishing nails. Or you can use a nail gun. Continue to add planks to the wall by locking the groove of each plank onto the tongue of the adjacent plank. You can use adhesive, but any planks in line with studs should be nailed in place. Now, you will have to make some cutouts, like for electrical outlets. Here's a trick I like to use for those. With a pencil or a piece of colored chalk, mark around the edge of the outlet. Then put your board in place. And tap it against the outlet. The chalk or graphite will leave an outline where you need to cut. Measure about ½ an inch outside that line and make your cut with a jigsaw. Now, before you replace the cutout boards over the outlets, turn off the power at the circuit breaker. Check to make sure it's off with a circuit tester. Then unscrew the outlets. Install the board, then screw the outlet back into place, making sure the ears are on top of the paneling. For doors and windows, you'll need to rely on your tape measure. Just measure over from the edge of the last installed board to the door or window and transfer your measurements to your next plank. Make your cuts, dry fit the board to double check, and sand or recut if needed. Continue installing the planks, locking the groove onto the tongue. Now, for the last piece on a run, you'll probably need to cut the edge to fit. Now, the next step is to install the top or the chair rail molding. Follow the same process you use for installing the baseboard, measuring and cutting 45-degree angles at any lap joints and corners. Make sure it's level before you nail it into the studs. And if you're not using channeled baseboards like we did, you'll need to install those as well. At the corners, install decorative molding to cover any gaps. Now, if you're using nails, make sure you countersink them with a nail set. Then fill the nail holes with spackling. Once it's dry, sand the filler and touch up the areas with paint. Then apply a bead of paintable caulk along the top of the chair rail. And remember to reinstall all of your switch plates and outlet covers. With beaded plank paneling, you can easily transform a room, and the end result is beautiful. Why not take this makeover to the next level? For our project, we changed the wall color, added a decorative chandelier, updated the switch plates, and hung new curtains to give this room a whole new look. If you're looking for more ideas that can enhance your home and add value, visit Lowe's.com/videos for some great suggestions.